Welcome to the Royal Road School of Carmelite Prayer. We are currently looking at a talk entitled The Structure of Man that was presented by Father John Emmanuel in Lyon, France in 2017. He's speaking to us about the challenges we face in interior prayer and then explains to us what happens to us in prayer. So in the spiritual self, as we saw in the last video, John of the Cross tells us that God is at our center and that at baptism, he gives us a theological life that allows us to unite with him. In other words, he gives us the three theological virtues that are grafted into our soul. And these are faith, hope, and charity. So let's take a look at these individually. First, faith. Faith is a gift from God. It's one of the theological virtues. And at baptism, faith attaches to the intelligence in the soul. The intelligence then is purified and transformed by faith from an inaccurate understanding of things. Faith follows the intelligence to be elevated and transformed. The more we allow God to act in us, the more intelligent we become. We acquire the intelligence of faith. Faith gives us a vision of things, an understanding that by ourselves we would not be able to understand. Faith is not rational, nor is it irrational. So improved reasoning does not mean that I'm getting closer to God. Faith is super rational. It raises the reason above its capacities. It renews our thinking. For example, when Peter was asked by Jesus who he was, he answered the Christ by saying, "You are the Christ." And Christ replied that it wasn't his flesh or the body or his blood, the soul, his human nature that allowed him to know this, but rather the Father. The virtue of faith. Then Jesus began to talk about his passion and all he would endure. Peter objected strongly, saying that this would never happen to Jesus, that he would never abandon Christ. It was his human nature that responded. So the exact same man can make an act of faith that transforms his intelligence, and in this case, gave us the foundation on which the church is based. You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. Then his human nature takes over, and he can't conceive of what the Christ is saying about his future suffering. So a life of prayer allows us little by little to reach another understanding. We don't go to Mass or to confession. We don't look at creation or our spouse or our children in the same way. The theological virtues transform our way of thinking and of being in the world. But all of this, of course, takes time. Charity now. Charity is another theological virtue, and it too is a gift. Charity attaches to our will in the soul. It is not love, sensory. It is charity which transforms our way of wanting. God is not sensory love. God is charitable love. His charity gradually transforms our wills to where we love God more. And in turn, this transformation allows us to love others more. This is the first and the second commandments. And finally, hope. Hope is the third theological virtue. It too is a gift, and it attaches itself to the memory in our soul. Memory concerns our relationship to time. I used to think that I didn't have time for this, for that, or that because of my past there was no hope for a decent future. Hope awakens in us another relationship with time. It brings about a change in priorities, and it allows us to hope against all hope. And this profoundly transforms us. Amen. So in summary then, we have seen that at baptism, we receive these theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity. These virtues allow us to participate in God's life, to unite with God, and they are grafted into the soul at baptism. And gradually, over time, they transform the faculties of our soul to the ultimate transformation, no longer I that live, but Christ that lives in me, Galatians 6:2. So I hope this helps, and may God bless you and yours. As I said in the past, this has profoundly impacted me, and I've studied this talk many, many times over many years, and it really is what propelled me to study Teresian prayer in depth. Thank you.